Season 4, Episode 4 brought to light some disparate clues that could point a finger towards Oliver's love interest, Loretta. She's been known to...
You can't come back from the dead now, can you?
What? Why would they have a character say that? Are they setting up that a character could come back from the dead? Listen, on this podcast, we're past Sazz faking her death, okay? Let's just ignore that. Now again, episode 4 provided some answers, yet also more questions on the Westies. Why do they...
No body, no funeral.
Are we really doing this? Stop emphasizing that there isn't a body, show. We're moving past that.
How excited she was to finally retire.
Oh my God. Get ready for some incredible theories, wild speculation. Let's solve Only Murders in the Building, Season 4, Episode 4, The Stunt Man. Charles, Oliver, and Mabel delve into the peculiar universe of stunt people. They encounter a suspect with an incredibly familiar face. Who dat? New character, who dis? We'll be breaking down each episode for clues, suspects, and red herrings on the hunt to learn who shot Sazz. Spoilers for the first 3 seasons and through the first 4 episodes of Season 4 of Only Murders in the Building. If you haven't seen all these episodes, pause this video, get in a good old-fashioned bar brawl, and then come back and watch. Use the timestamps below to jump to the topic or suspect that you want to hear about and skip past stuff you don't want to hear, like my constant asides and my admissions. 4 episodes into Season 4, I gotta admit, I'm lost. Watch our Season 3 coverage, Season 3 Episode 1 video. All of us had solved pretty much everything by the first episode. We were like these cookies that Ben loves. Weren't those used to poison him? Yes. Doesn't it seem like the producers are the likely suspects? Yes. Season 3, it really felt like we were ahead of the show. Now, moving to Season 4, boy, it feels more like Season 2. And what do I mean when I say that? Back in Season 2, I really only looked at the Arconia suspects because, silly me, I assumed, boy, only an Arconia resident would know about the secret passageway used for the murder. But in the end, that was the wrong idea. Even though many characters had lived in the Arconia for decades and had no idea about the secret passageways, somehow a person who didn't live in the Arconia learned about the secret passageways by methods that the audience never learned. We were just told, hey, I found out about secret passageways. Don't make me relitigate Season 2. But with Season 4, would Hollywood directors know about the Arconia incinerator? Would they know how to do all this? Would they know that there's a chute to the incinerator in the stairwell near Charles's apartment? Would they know that the incinerator was shut down and how to start it back up? You know, you wouldn't think those Hollywood characters could. Based on Season 2, I don't think we can discount any of these characters, even those based in LA, even though it really seems illogical that they would know about the Arconia that much. 40% into the season, I don't have a clear suspect. Yet, I have created what I think is a pretty fun tinfoil hat theory to think about this week, which we'll cover later on in this podcast. And I have received some of the best feedback on social media, on the YouTube comments, I think we've ever gotten. You guys are so smart, and I'm only going to read a portion of it, but holy smokes, this is some of the best stuff we've received. It's time for the Double C credit clues. Now, the opening credits, we did have Howard walking Hammy, but I'm pretty sure the thing you're supposed to notice is, the 4-leaf clover, some shamrock shadows on the Arconia. In the closing credits, we see a flyer for Sazz's Stunt School. Boy, say that 3 times fast. Sazz's Stunt School, Sazz's Stunt School, Sazz's Stunt School. Oh, okay, maybe it's not that hard. There's also the painting of the stuntman funeral on the pool table. If you watched the great show The Wire, you're familiar with this idea. The episode title is The Stunt Man, the same title as a 1980 film about a fugitive stumbling onto a movie set just when the movie crew needed a new stuntman. The fugitive takes the job as a way to hide out, and he falls for the leading lady while facing off with the manipulative director. Now last week I created a crazy goal. I said, hey, let's try to get this channel, my channel, up to 10,000 subscribers. A lot of you guys watch these videos and you haven't subscribed yet. I really need you to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And so I was like, give me some goal. If we somehow reach 10,000 subscribers, I'll do it. We got this feedback from Spoonful of Sugar, who wrote, maybe once you get to 10,000 subscribers, you can wear an eye patch and have someone do a spit take right into your face. Spoonful of Sugar, I'll do it. Please, we need you to subscribe. If you like it, please subscribe. And if you like it, tell somebody. Bring more Arconiacs in. Before we run down the suspects, let's see what episode 4 taught us about the victim, actor, stunt double, Sazz Pataki. You'll note that we now have a date. Sazz died on April 5th, 2024. Sazz and Charles, they don't just look alike, they both have another thing in common, and that's very rare blood type. Have we tested the blood on the floor in Charles's apartment? Sazz is on Instagram, and she follows Loretta. Boy, we're going to talk about Loretta in a bit. Her selfie that she posted on Instagram from the concussions chiropractic area, it was liked by somebody on Instagram with the handle A*Machado? A Machado? Whose Instagram account would that be? Or, if we're true Instagram heads, does that mean A Machado follows Sazz and Mabel's account? According to the chiropractor, Dr. Maggie, Sazz was in a lot of pain and she was finally ready to retire. She was going to be transitioning to a new career. Now, one thing that I feel is a little odd about that is that she was, ready to retire. But actor Scott Bakula was expecting her to be his stunt double that same week that she died. What's going on there? There's also this thing where Sazz was tired of giving more than she got in a relationship, but she didn't know how to get away. The show makes Charles think that Sazz is talking about him, discussing him and their relationship. But we know she was in a relationship with Jan, a relationship that theoretically we're told she was going to break up with Jan. Was Sazz in yet a third relationship we need to find? Sazz was friends to many of these stunt people. She's well loved. She did have a dream back, I assume, in the 80s and 90s when the original Brazos was on. She wanted to open a trampoline park and create a stunt school. Now, thinking about the trampoline park, you got to think back to her father. Her father was a stuntman. Now, I don't know anything about stuntmen other than the show and the movie The Fall Guy, but how did Sazz get enough money to buy this land, which admittedly is a toxic waste dump and government cleaned it up, but that could not have been cheap. Why did Sazz buy it? I've already talked about it. We have those lines in the show. The show is saying them straight to the camera almost. Yous can't come back from the dead, can ya? No body, no funeral. Is the show pulling our leg, trolling us? Is Sazz really dead? Let me say real quickly, there are some podcasters, YouTubers, people who do this, who have access to the screeners. And they've had access to the first 7 episodes for a while. There's rumors now that they have access to the first 9 episodes of season 4. I don't. I watched the first episode, I thought, well, is Sazz really dead? This is very odd. Am I seeing shadows? Am I incorrect? What do you guys think? Is Sazz dead? Now let's look at the suspects. We're going to start with Irish Glen Stubbins. Ben Glenroy is his face double. Glenn is the character which says, "Yous can't come back from the dead, can ya?" Glenn also has a very interesting line where he says, Ben, somebody got in his ear about being on stage. We've got so many clues in season 4, I forget who it was. Who encouraged Ben to act on stage from season 3? Do you remember? We got too much to keep track of. We have Dr. Maggie, the chiropractor. Hashtag not a real doctor. Are there any clues about Dr. Maggie? I didn't exactly see them, but look around her office. Did you guys find any clues? Before we lump all the Westies together with all the clues that we saw about them, I want to specifically talk about daughter Anna for a second. Back in episode 2 of season 4, Anna made some joke about, well, Charles has brittle bones. And at the time, when talking about episode 2, I thought, boy, that's an odd expression. I suddenly thought about it. Is that something she would hear from Sazz? Anna would ask Sazz, she'd be like, why does Charles need a stunt double? And Sazz might reply back, well, Charles has brittle bones. Is that why Anna said Charles has brittle bones? Because she heard it from Sazz. Now, we do want to also give a little special shout out to Vince Fish. Vince, he's got the ham wrapped in a Portugal flag. What is going on with Vince? What's going on with all the Westies? Well, apparently what they tell us is going on is that Professor Dudenoff rents every apartment on that floor. He allows folks to live in the Arconia for only $200 a month. And so this is a rent control scam. The one thing I would say is that you really don't need a ham radio in each apartment to pull off a rent control scam, I'm pretty sure. Now we hear that Helga is Rudy's ex-girlfriend. If Helga is the woman on the radio, Helga said, hey, the last person who looked into this died. Was Helga just joking because they didn't want anyone to find out about the rent control? It doesn't seem like Helga was specifically talking about Sazz, so did somebody else die looking into the rent control? What do you guys think of the Westies? Are they more likely or less likely to be guilty? Later on, I've made this map of the Westies floor, and we're going to get into it in our tinfoil hat theory. Bev Melon. Bev has taken over the penthouse for the film's production. Bev, God bless her, is like the brother-sister's whisperer. She can understand what they're saying or what they want to say that maybe won't be as offensive as what they really want to say. And somehow, some way, Bev Melon knows about Sazz's secret stunt school. When the podcast trio pull up, her car isn't there, so did she Uber to this place? How did she get there? Why does she have a gun? Is Bev that third relationship we're wondering who Sazz is talking about with her chiropractor? The brothers sisters. They seemingly have a triplet running the camera at their audition. And if you know anything about acting, boy, it is really great that they're not making the actors self-tape. That is so good. Also good, I really laughed with the "you make me want to vomit" line. Very good. You know, speaking of auditions, let's go even further. It's not often that you audition straight in front of the directors, right? Normally a casting director, somebody would kind of screen people before they went straight to the directors of the film. But this is cool. The directors want authentic Arconiacs. I love it. Loretta Durkin, and okay, this isn't the official tinfoil hat theory section, but around Loretta, let's have some tinfoil hat theories. I'm going to start with this feedback from Angela, who wrote, "The tinsel stuff is actually common here in the UK. It's used as ribbons to wrap presents, and Loretta, we know, was a professional gift wrapper." Okay, this is pretty interesting. So if this isn't tinsel, but like ribbon to wrap a present, and Loretta's a professional gift wrapper, okay, we're getting to something here. People have noted that in the picture of the Westies with the scratched out face, there's a woman with pigtails. We've seen Loretta wearing pigtails. In season 3, episode 5, on Loretta and Oliver's date, she laughs at his snort and calls him like an adorable little piglet. There's another pig reference. Sazz was following Loretta on Instagram. How would Sazz and Loretta know each other? They don't really have any scenes together in season 3. Now, if Sazz is shot and killed, you'd need a really strong person to lift Sazz's body up and drop it into the incinerator. Well, now, in all of Loretta's Instagram photos, there's a very strong arm that could probably lift Sazz's body. Back in that final episode of season 3, Loretta left the Death Rattle Dazzle opening night party because she had to fly to LA. She could have easily left the party, then gone over to the Westies and gone into the Dudenoff apartment to shoot a gun. Loretta is an actor, just like Abe Lincoln's assassin, John Wilkes Booth, was an actor. Okay. This is all circumstantial, probably nothing. But a lot of clues, this is getting interesting, right? So why would Loretta do it? That's probably the real reason why this feels ridiculous. Well, Loretta was an actress in the 80s in New York City. Would she not have had any contact with Brazos before back then? Sazz was looking into who might want Charles dead. Certainly Sazz would have investigated his co-stars in the play he was doing. Did she uncover another Loretta secret that we don't know about? What do you guys think? Is this too off the deep end? Could Loretta, sweet, innocent Loretta, be the evil mastermind in season 4? Howard Morris. Now, last week I was like, how did Howard end up with this pig from the Westies? KK and a couple of people wrote in and they said, you know, Howard is on the Arconia board. That's how they probably ended up giving him the pig. Howard is living the life in the Dudenoff apartment in that beautiful giant bed, which is a gift from Eva Longoria. Incredible. His podcast, he's doing interviews. He has a great exclusive with Henry, the Central Park Clydesdale. It's going to be hard to believe Howard is the criminal mastermind when he's not a self-starter. But then here's another interesting thing. Whoever printed that flyer and slid it specifically under the door knows Howard to a T, knows Howard would love to audition and appear in the movie. What'd you think of Howard's audition? Should he get a part? Let's hear it. Hammy Faye Bakker. Now, Howard is talking about animal jobs, and we know pigs can smell and look for truffles. Howard lets us know that pigs have been trained to be golf caddies. And remember, on Sazz's desk in Los Angeles, there was a golf scorecard. People are speculating online. I haven't thought this, but people are speculating. Is there any way that Hammy could have been trained to pull the trigger of the rifle? Yes, we are on the deep end of crazy theories, but I love everything about pointing the finger at Hammy. Ronnie is a great follow on Instagram. She's perfect. She gets responses from big stars like Loretta. Ronnie, I think we have to keep our eye on her. Now, if you want to follow Ronnie, follow her at PHQ. That's the word double, the single letter P for podcast, HQ for headquarters. This may be Ronnie's only time as a suspect, so I gotta say bye-bye, because one bye is never enough. Oliver Putnam. Oliver is losing sleep as he spends overnights chatting with his West Coast love Loretta, but he's in despair. He almost asked Loretta to marry him, but he kind of chickened out because he feels like he fails at everything. Charles Hayden Savage. He's Sazz's acting double. He's having nightmares about Sazz. Why did this come to him out of the blue, this paradise memory? Mabel Mora. There really weren't great clues about Mabel, but let's agree, we all agree, she's the right kind of weirdo. For our tinfoil hat theory this week, let's go to an article from IndieWire. Now again, I don't think this is any way a spoiler. I wouldn't say it now if I thought in any way it spoiled anything. There's just a quote in an article by IndieWire that I want to discuss. Now this is an article about the set and the production crew built for season 4. One line is the production designer Patrick Howe said, "The order of the apartments was particularly important, which necessitated building them in a row on the set. You could walk down the hall and go into each apartment in order," production designer Patrick Howe said. Now, when they're building all these apartments next to each other on a set, they actually ran out of space. So the apartment for Christmas All the Time guy Rudy, it's actually the same space in the studio that was Sazz's LA apartment. So now I want to go back to that line. The order of the apartments was particularly important. Now, if you've read a lot of murder mysteries or seen a lot of murder mysteries, there's always the question of who was where, when, who had access to what, when. So I went into Photoshop and I made this kind of sketch of, okay, this is the layout of the apartments. So let's look at this layout. Here is apartment E, Vince Fish's. If the Westies are telling the truth, Vince Fish was not in his apartment when the shot was fired. He was over at the Sauce family's place. So his apartment would have been empty. His apartment is closest to the elevator, so somebody could have easily come up the elevator. They didn't have to worry about making a noise outside Vince Fish's house because they could easily get to the Dudenoff place, apartment F, and not pass another apartment. If we can trust Rudy, he was alone in his apartment H, 2 apartments away from the rifle being fired. Now, if Rudy wanted to sneak out and sneak into the Dudenoff place, he would have had to walk by apartment G, where the Sauce family and Vince Fish were playing the card game, Oh Hell. If the whole family was playing Oh Hell in the place where they played it with Oliver and Mabel, then the table where they played the card game is in plain view of the door into the hallway. It's not like any of the characters could have easily snuck out, gone into the Dudenoff place, fired a shot, and then snuck back into their place for Oh Hell, right? Everybody playing cards would have noticed them. What do you guys think? Why is there this line, the order of the apartments was particularly important? Is there something we're missing in the way that this shooting took place? You know what I need? I need you to go down in the comments. Let's figure this out. This could be nothing. This could be everything to getting justice for Sazz. Now let's go to your feedback. On Instagram, Mark Ramsey sent another great image that's been going around. We know Helga is on an airplane ticket that was found on Sazz's LA desk. Helga is a name we've seen before somewhere else. That's right, in Season 2, Episode 6, podcaster Cindy Canning had 2 appointments with a Helga for masseuse. Who is Helga? Now, one thing listeners love doing is getting all the pig, ham, and all the pork references we've got. Chrissy Brooks wrote, Charles Sazz, Eugene Levy, and Scott Bakula wear a style of hat known as a pork pie hat. They do, that's exactly right. Another great bit of feedback from the makeup chair wrote, what do pigs do? Pigs squeal. Maybe the motive of the murder was to stop someone from squealing. Ooh, love that. J2.RIP wrote, pigs can cause pink eye. Oh my goodness, is Hammy Faye Bakker the cause of Vince Fish's pink eye? Holy smokes. And Larissa wrote, the person with the crossed out face in the photo was wearing pigtails. Ooh. You guys are great about finding all these pig references. If you're not yet watching Moonflower Murders, come over there. There's actually something very similar that could help you solve those murder mysteries as well. I won't spoil it, but come over and watch Moonflower Murders with us with that thought and that type of eye for detail. Also, that tinsel or non-tinsel has definitely been on everybody's mind. In my head, I thought, well, is it possibly like the tinfoil people use when they're dyeing hair? Some people have said, is it hair tinsel? Which I'm not an expert on. It could be. I did get this feedback from D. Cook Stuff Video. They wrote, it's fire tape, which is a very common element used in stunt work. I haven't been able to validate this anyway, but do you guys know, is fire tape, when they tape somebody up when they set them on fire in a stunt work, would it be reflective and look like tinsel like this? Ooh, are we putting it together? Look at all this stuff. Great feedback. Keep giving it. Go down in the comments right now and give us some great feedback. Speaking of the photo that everybody talks about, Blue Pen Quinn wrote, you look at this photo and one thing you always overlook, who took the photo? Wonderful question. We've got the 5 Westies and the scratched out person, but there was a 7th person who took that photo. Who was it? Momo Hill wrote, Jan said the killer would try to kill again. If Charles was the intended target, then my prediction is that the killer will try again, but next time they may accidentally almost off Eugene Levy. Ooh, Momo Hill, we cannot have that. Shiny Hunter Solu, hope I'm pronouncing that right, they wrote, I think Rudy helped with the murder. There are going to be some holes in this theory at the moment, but in the photo, Rudy isn't wearing a Christmas sweater. My theory is that Rudy, who was working out very strong, he was the one to carry the body, but he wasn't the shooter. He didn't kill Sazz. Plus, Rudy wasn't accounted for. He wasn't playing the card game. Whew, that is some smart thought. I actually could see that really working. So who would be the shooter? Who would be the second to Rudy in this theory? I love it, Shiny Hunter Solu. This, I do see how you could put it together. Love it. I got feedback about Vince Fish's apartment. Abby wrote, he has a Hitchcock book on his mantle. Steve wrote, that Alfred Hitchcock book is prominently displayed in Pink Eye's apartment. Okay, now think about this, guys. Alfred Hitchcock. We've seen a lot of rear window references. This is pretty much every episode. Charles looks out his window, sees his neighbors. His neighbors look out their window, they see him. That's definitely a Hitchcock rear window reference. In episode 2, did we have a reference to Psycho about a scary thing happening in the shower? But it's actually a hanging ham. That could be a Psycho reference. In this episode, was there a Vertigo reference where someone looks exactly like another person? Whew. We need Mrs. Gambolini to come back so we can have a reference to the birds. Do you think we'll get a scene similar to the closing scene in Rear Window this year? Will Mabel be in place of Grace Kelly? Would Charles be in place of Grace Kelly? Whew, if you haven't seen Rear Window, see it. It's one of the best movies ever. Again, I'm only scratching the surface of all the great feedback. If you're on YouTube, go give us your thoughts and feedback, but also read everybody else's. The Clue Crew, this is an incredible community you guys have built. And if you haven't, please subscribe and get all the great insights down in the comments. Next week, we'll be back to talk about the midpoint of Season 4, Episode 5, Adaptation. The trio face off against a collection of individuals who deceive, manipulate, and threaten as second nature, aka a Hollywood cast and crew. See you next week.